Hi everyone, so this is episode 4 of my series Let's Talk About It, and I've just gone live across on my Facebook page. So if you want to see any of these videos on my Facebook page, head on over to NU Journeys Counselling and also my personal page, Marianne Hanson. But as I'm doing this series specifically for YouTube, this is the reason I'm going to do it on here as well. And what we're talking about today is, can you like a person whilst hating their behaviour? And the reason I want to talk about this is because I feel that sometimes when we think of people like drug dealers, child abusers, domestic violence perpetrators, murderers, people who scam people, people who steal, there is obviously negative associations with that, and understandably, because some of these offences or behaviours for some people are reprehensible, and I have to agree, even though I'm a counsellor and a social worker and a pacifist and all these sorts of things, there's certain behaviours that I find reprehensible as well. We all have those which are just cross the line and bound, where we say, that's it, I don't care what the reason was, I don't care who this person is, it's just beyond, I'm not ready to accept what they've done. So the issue is, do you label the person, or can you separate the person from the behaviour? So let's talk about that. So when I was doing my social work training, I was done 2 placements. So what we do is we have work experience before we become a qualified social worker. My first one was in a residential with children aged 10 to 16, and my second one was in a youth offending team with young offenders. And one of the cases that I was asked to look at was a young boy who had committed a racial attack. It was that serious that he was convicted of the attack. He was obviously given probation, and my responsibility really was to look at that offending, why it had happened, look at the thoughts, the feelings behind it, and to try to prevent reoffending. Now, initially, on paper, this person seemed really a nasty person, because obviously he's committed an assault. It's been based on race, so obviously there's racism there as well. I'm a black woman going into that situation thinking, do I really want to work with him? Now, I was given the option. Now, part of me wanted to say, no, I don't want nothing to do with him. But then when I did actually take on this case, I was able to work through with the person. I don't want to give away people's story, but he had a backstory that had led him to where he'd got to. And in a lot of cases, the story behind someone's actions is usually the interesting part for me. So it's not necessarily that, someone has gone into a bar and they've glassed someone with a bottle, or someone has been walking on the street and they've randomly attacked another black person. Some of the times it is that they've built up feelings and resentment and that sort of thing, but other times it can be based on what's happened to them in their past, what's been some of the brainwashing that was experienced. It could be that if someone has done something to you, then your anger and your frustration has projected onto a completely random person. And that's why sometimes it's important to understand, what is the story behind the behaviour? How did someone get to where they've got to? I always say that just because I haven't committed an offence and I've got a clean record, and I've always said I wanted to keep my DBS clean so that I could do work like counselling, I could do social work. I've never wanted to get a criminal record, but I have been in situations when I was a teenager where I've dated certain people and they've said to me, if I listen to this, someone said to me, if I go to prison, would you sneak in my drugs for me, like weed? And I said no. And they said, well, you're my girlfriend, that's what you're supposed to do. And I'm thinking, I don't care if I'm your wife, I don't care if I'm your sister, I'm not committing a crime for no one. And I've said that to my family, I've always said that. Everyone who knows me knows that I'm not getting a criminal record. However, if I'm in a situation where someone confronted me, for example, and it was me or them, and it was self-defense, I'm not going to think about, should I use this object on this person because it might kill them, or should I pick up a knife? I'm just going to fight for my life. And if that as a result of that, I end up hurting someone, which people have been in that situation, then I would be labelled as well. And what we've got to think about is, sometimes things don't just happen. There's usually a backstory. So are you someone that would label someone and say for the rest of their life that's who they are, because when this person was 15 or 20 they committed they were in a gang and they did this, this and that, so therefore they can't then go on to become a good member of society or whatever it is? Or are we saying that sometimes, in some cases, the behaviour and the person can be separated? You can still connect with a person, you can still recognise that this person has done something really, really bad. However, that doesn't label who they are, because ultimately there's lots of aspects of who we are. We're not just one thing. The pastor in the church isn't just, this fantastic person who can't be judged. There are pastors who have committed certain crimes, against children. I'm not just picking on pastors here. There are people who are in certain situations that they've done things in their past. But can we change, and can people still be given a chance? So these are some of the things to consider, really. For me, it depends on how much of the story you find out about. I could be watching a documentary or a video and it could be all about the victim, so I'm then going to be empathising with them. I could watch another documentary which only talks about the perpetrator. They might have been through child abuse, they might have grown up in a certain environment, they might have been bullied, so every time they come across a confrontation they feel they have to defend themselves. So when you listen to just both two different sides, you're probably going to take some sort of stance. Whereas if you hear both sides of the story, you can then sometimes come to a better conclusion. Also, what aspects of the person can you connect with outside of the behaviour? Is everyone just evil completely, or, that monster that you think they are? Or are there some aspects, levels to it where you're not condoning or accepting what they've done, but where you say, well, when I spoke to this person, there's no way I'm going to agree with what they did. However, I'm not also going to put that label that they're a monster or that they're evil. Is there some sort of balance there? That's what we have to consider. Also, the reason, everyone has a story. As I said, when I was in a gang, when I was younger, it wasn't a gang, it was a group of girls, 10 of us. We wouldn't consider it as a girl gang now, but some of the things they were getting up to, had I continued on that path with them, once they started doing the stealing, the robbing, all that stuff, I could have been convicted in the same way they were. They've had to come out of prison and they've had to restart their lives. From the age of, we were only 15, 16 and onwards. Would people then be judging me on my past? If I became a social worker then, or a counsellor, would people be saying, well, she can't talk to me, or she can't be a good person when she committed this robbery when she was 15? Or can we say that people will change, or that whatever happened when someone was younger doesn't have to continue on their future? For me, it makes a difference when things happened, what the person is doing now, and what they want to do in their future. People can have regrets, they can make mistakes, they've been in situations where they've maybe done things which they wish they hadn't. Some things are not mistakes. Some things, let's be honest, if you've premeditated, or you've gone out and you've done a robbery and you've killed someone, or you've raped someone, or you've abused a child and stuff, I'm not going to put those categories in the same category. That's just me. There's people watching who are going to say, well, who are you to judge on this, what behaviour or that behaviour? And that's what we all have to look at, really. This is a self-reflection thing. This is also the idea of talking about these topics, is to bring them to the forefront and say, well, do we label people quickly? Do we write people off? Do we say, well, because you were in a gang when you were younger, you shouldn't be now talking to, you shouldn't be a youth leader, you shouldn't be a pastor, because you did this when you were younger, you shouldn't now be walking around society and whatever. So, yeah, it's a tough one. I don't have a yes or no for this one. This is one of the topics which I think there's grey areas. I think it's complicated. I think you all have to decide for yourselves. Tell me what you guys think. Is it possible to like a person and hate their behaviour, or is it just not possible because you can't separate the two? What are your thoughts on things that you would consider as being reprehensible and there's no way in the world that you would ever be able to forgive a person for doing? Should we be labelling someone if they've done something? Can the slate be wiped clean? Let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all again soon. This series that I'm doing will continue. I think I've got maybe 3 or 4 more videos. What day are we on? I don't even know what day it is. Anyway, it will continue for maybe 2 or 3 more videos, Please feel free to watch the series, leave your comments, let me know what you think, like, share, subscribe. Take care everyone, bye.